Hey there guys, what's going on? Tyler here with your Movie Fix, and we are going to be talking about a ton of Justice League movie news that dropped yesterday on the web. And as some of you are aware, that there were some journalists and online bloggers that were sent out over to the set of Justice League last Friday, Saturday-ish, and now they have been able to put out all of their articles on everything that they've found. Now we thought that we would maybe get some behind-the-scene pictures, you know, maybe a full shot of the Justice League together, a couple of interviews, some minor things, nothing to really give away anything, and we got some of those things, and then we also have a giant, just a ton of news on top of that. So much more than any of us could have expected. This is a great time for DC fans, and a lot of people were very excited with what we heard, including myself. And all of this news that I'm going to be talking about, I'm pulling things from Heroic Hollywood, Birth Movies, Death from Devin Faraci, and Screen Rant, a couple of those other places, and pulling some of the best bits, and we're going to be talking about it all. And I'm not just here to, just flat out report some of the things that they saw. We're going to be talking about them, giving my commentary. I want to hear your feedback on all of this stuff. It's going to be really fun to talk about. Now, one of my favorite things was that Zack and Deborah Snyder went out of their way to invite journalists like Devin Faraci, who is a known open hater. He despises Batman v Superman. He was very unhappy with that movie. He put out a lot of very popular articles on disliking the movie, his opinions, a lot of things that got a lot of traction, and they were very aware of this. They were very aware of the fan reaction, of the critical reaction. And although the movie has fans and had journalists that were fans of the movie, they made sure to invite the fans and the people that could win other people over if they were able to get them. And Devin Faraci is someone who is very much not looking forward to the DC movies. He was not a fan of Man of Steel. He was not a fan of Dawn of Justice. So it was going to take a lot to win someone over like him, and they did their job. Getting all of these people that were so uneasy about what they were doing with the franchise and being able to win them over, that's a really cool thing for Zack to confront those people and present to them, and they want to get the entire public back on board with Justice League, with the DC properties. Because of, the status of what Dawn of Justice is right now in the public eye, they need to win everyone over, and this is a ton of news coming out over a year before Justice League comes out, and they're all excited and I'm very excited, so let's get into this. Now I want to talk about a couple of the things that Zack and Deborah Snyder had to say about Dawn of Justice and Justice League and where everything is going to be going. And this was something I really enjoyed. I think the darkest will be is where we've been. Obviously referring to Dawn of Justice, with what that story was, the source material that it was pulling from, that was going to be a very dark and a very serious story, and they're aware of that. And something else that they were both very aware of, that the fans and, audiences, critics, people don't want to see their heroes deconstructed. Watchmen was a movie about the deconstruction of the genre of superheroes as a whole. But something like Dawn of Justice deconstructed Superman and Batman, the two most recognizable superheroes, up there with Spider-Man. So many people know their history, they know the characters, they know how they're supposed to be. And a lot of the, DC fans like myself, people who are very deep into the source material, we know that this movie wasn't far off from who they are, but it was a deconstructionist take on them in the sense that Dawn of Justice was basically a midlife crisis movie for both Batman and Superman. Batman being at the end of his rope, he's giving up, he's a lot more brutal, and Superman, who's got the weight of the world, he's doubting himself. He hasn't fully embraced being Superman. I feel like we got the moment at the end of the film where he is embracing Superman, but the way I see it, I enjoyed both Man of Steel and Dawn of Justice a lot, but the time for struggle is over. We don't need to see another dour movie like that. I enjoy them very much, but like I said, the time for struggle needs to be done. We need to go on, and they said that people love to see their heroes in their glory, and that's what we're going to be getting, and that is awesome. Everyone was so excited to see the scenes of Batman, of Flash. We have so much news coming out between casting confirmations, complete scene descriptions, between these characters, and it all sounds great. And they've said that Justice League is going to be a much more inclusive film, that it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's very character driven, that a lot of character moments are what you need for an ensemble movie, and the scene descriptions that we got, that's what I'm really feeling. And we also got an official synopsis for Justice League, and we're going to read that off here real quick. Fueled by his restored faith in humanity and inspired by Superman's selfless act, Bruce Wayne enlists the help of his newfound ally, Diana Prince, to face an even greater enemy. Together, Batman and Wonder Woman work quickly to find and recruit a team of metahumans to stand against this newly awakened threat. But despite the formation of the unprecedented League of Heroes, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and the Flash, it may already be too late to save the planet from an assault of catastrophic proportions. Now that synopsis alone I'm a very big fan of, and it also goes back to a rumor from a couple of weeks back that the movie was going to be dealing with 3 mother boxes. This has all been confirmed by all the people. There are going to be 3 mother boxes in the movie. Steppenwolf is going to be the main antagonist, and Darkseid will have a presence, but he is not the main villain. From what they're going, he's going to be later introduced as being the big bad. But we are going to be getting Steppenwolf. We're going to have a lot of parademons. We're going to be delving into some of the apocalyptic stuff. So that's really, really cool. Now, Steppenwolf and Darkseid's casting has not been confirmed, but we did get 2 other confirmations that we're going to be talking about. Willem Dafoe is going to be playing Vulko, who is an Atlantean advisor to Arthur Curry, to Aquaman. And he's a very big player in the Throne of Atlantis storyline. And also Kristopher Hivju from Game of Thrones, he's going to be playing an ancient Atlantean king. And this is another thing that they talked about, that they got to see concept art and they were explained to by Deborah Snyder, was that there's going to be like a history lesson of what happened 30,000 years ago, that there was a war with the Atlanteans, the Amazons, and the humans against Apocalypse, that they fought these people off before a long, long time ago. And that is why the Atlanteans, the Amazons, and the humans are all in possession of a mother box. Now, I have the understanding that the ones that the humans had is what they used on Cyborg. Obviously, that was the mother box, but they almost make it sound like there's another one out there, that the one the humans had wasn't the one on Cyborg. So was there a 4th one? I still think that the one the humans had was for Cyborg, and I think he's going to be a ginormous player in the movie. He's going to be a big surprise. He's probably going to have a really big role because of the nature of who he is, that he was created by a mother box, this thing that these galactic tyrants are searching for. But the history lessons seem pretty cool to hear about, getting to see ancient Atlantean kings and even Zeus himself. Now, the Wonder Woman and Batman costumes are mostly the same. Wonder Woman's is pretty much the exact same. Batman's is going to be slightly different with some armor plating underneath, like the mesh, so a little bit more like, you know, just what's assumed like in the comics and things like that. So they said it looks largely the same, that he also has a different armored suit that we're going to get to see, very different from the one in Dawn of Justice. It's a lot more, you know, specific to Batman, that it's a little more homemade looking, that it's made to support the weaker portions of his body. Like if he's got a bad shoulder, this one is reinforced, and you know, maybe one arm is made stronger to hit harder for, you know, various different reasons. So it's going to be a really cool suit to see. And that the Flash has 2 different suits, ones that he actually puts together, made from pieces of a spacecraft and things that NASA uses in space shuttles for insulation so they don't burn up on re-entry. And that there's kind of wires all throughout it to conduct electricity. Not sure the true purpose of that, other than to look really cool when, you know, the Flash runs, there's tons of electricity. And that the second suit is actually going to be made by Bruce Wayne for Barry Allen, and that's going to be the super red, real streamlined Flash suit that we know, and it's said to be very, very different from the CW suit. It's recognizably the Flash, but it is very different. And Cyborg's costume is going to be all motion capture, in the same way that Zod's was motion captured. All the male Kryptonians and Man of Steel, that was all motion captured. None of those suits are real, except for on Feora. So I think that's going to work out. So Ray Fisher's been walking around with just a glowing eye and a glowing chest piece, and the CG pajamas that they're going to add in. And they said he walks, you know, kind of like he's got all that metal on him. So that's going to be really cool to see. There wasn't too much on Aquaman, surprisingly. It sounds like he's going to be a little bit harder to win over, you know, to get on board with the idea of the Justice League, that they need him, because there wasn't a ton said about him. And also Superman was kept a big, big mystery, but Deborah Snyder said that of course that there wouldn't be a Justice League without Superman. And he is going to be in the movie. They were very careful about what they revealed to everyone, and they revealed a lot. Many of them think that they almost got basically the first half of the movie, they're pretty aware of what's going on. And that's going to be Batman going around and recruiting the other Justice League members and dealing with the nest of parademons that are there. Yes, a nest full of parademons is under Stryker's Island, so that's going to be really cool. But Superman is the big invisible elephant in the room that they refuse to talk about, so he's obviously going to have a big moment in the film. So I hope that they can keep that a big secret. And I don't know if I want it to be like, you know, the Death and Return totally of in that black suit with the really long hair. I've been hearing rumors. I don't recall seeing anything confirmed by any of these journalists that Superman would have really long hair or whatever. So I'm not going to say that that's what's happening, but he is coming back, and it's just a big mystery surrounding how is he going to do it. And we did also get to see a new picture of the Batmobile that's going to be used in Justice League. And we also got some tidbits on some other big gadgets that the team is going to use, that Batman's going to have. One of them being an upgraded kind of Batmobile tank called the Nightcrawler, which kind of has like these 4 legs. It's a tank designed from the 60s by Thomas Wayne that he actually finally built. And it's basically used to crawl on walls as this big kind of spider walker bat thing with this crazy fight sequence underground in a tunnel with a bunch of parademons. That's going to be really interesting. And also that they're going to get something called the Flying Fox, which is basically the jet that's going to transport the Justice League and can also transport a Batmobile, so that's pretty damn cool. And to me, it reminds me that the way they described it, it's going to be similar to the Javelin from Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Those were the transport units that the Justice League always used. So hopefully we get to see some things like that. And everyone is just so happy with what we're going to be getting. Now, if you really don't want any spoilers whatsoever, I know we kind of talked about things, but I don't consider any of this spoilers. I'm not going to be going into exact dialogue. I do want to talk about two of the scene descriptions that they got to see these two scenes unpolished, unfinished. But, you know, we're going to be talking about them. These can't really be spoilers if they're able to be released to the public for everyone to win everyone back on board for Justice League. These are just little minor things that sounded really cool, and I want to talk about them. And one of the big ones was a scene of Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and the Flash up on top of the rooftop of the GCPD with Commissioner Gordon. They described Commissioner Gordon, you know, J.K. Simmons is playing him, and he looks just like Commissioner Gordon out of Batman the Animated Series. He plays him so perfectly, and there's a lot of great interactions between Batman talking with Wonder Woman, and he even refers to the parademons as the bad guys flying monkeys. Now, this sounded like an awesome scene. A lot of people have seemed to complain about the possibility of there being more humor. There is going to be more humor. This is a more lighthearted movie. This is a hopeful Batman. He's a renewed man. And some people are just taking this the totally wrong way. I've seen some DC fans online freaking out about this because some of the journalists said, oh, they're making a Marvel movie and they're taking this and running with it the wrong way. How anyone can be upset, how a DC fan can be upset that we're getting a fun Justice League movie, I don't know. To me, all of this sounded just like things from a Justice League comic. It sounded like Justice League Origins or even Justice League War. And yes, Batman is going to have a sense of humor. The other characters obviously have a sense of humor. And that's something that's present in the comics. And just in the nature of what DC is, the movies, this is what Ben Affleck said, that the movies they're going to be a little bit more on the gothic, mythical side. And that's what's going to differentiate them, is that that's just what the source material is rooted in. So it's not going to be a ginormous departure from the tone that we probably got in Man of Steel. It won't be as dark as Dawn of Justice, but this is a character-driven interaction movie with a lot of fun characters in their glory. It's going to be a fun time. And in this scene, we get Cyborg coming up, when Batman talking to Commissioner Gordon about parademons kidnapping scientists. And this is a moment where they think in the film that Cyborg actually decides to join the Justice League. He joins the others, and Diana gives him this really big smile that she's glad that he was able to join. He made up his mind, and he's coming to terms with that responsibility. So that seemed like a really cool scene that played out, with the classic Batman disappearing when Gordon turns around. But instead, when he turns around, the Flash is actually still there, and they have a really funny exchange of words. That's going to be really cool. And also, one of the other scenes was Barry meeting Bruce Wayne for the first time. Now, Bruce has snuck into his apartment. He's waiting for Barry to get home, and he's confronting him, basically saying, like, I know you're the Flash. He throws a batarang, and he catches it. And he's like, oh my God, you're Batman. Of course I want to join. I'm in. Very paraphrased. You can actually read the total dialogue. It sounded like a ton of fun. I really liked all the character interactions. Just those two scenes. Those two scenes that these people described are something that we have not seen in a DC movie, and that's something that all of us have been wanting to see. Now, how anyone can be so, I guess, unappreciative that we're getting a movie like this, I have no idea, but they won everyone over there. They've gotten me very excited and very on board, and I hope all of you guys are as well. I think all of the fans should be very elated at all of this news. I can't believe it's happening. You know, Justice League is going to be November of next year. You know, it's just over a year. That's absolutely insane. The description of this movie to me sounds a lot like Justice League Origins or Justice League War, the animated movie, which is where they assemble the Justice League for the first time. Obviously, Superman is omitted, so let's not pretend he's in that story, and no Green Lantern. But instead of having Darkseid be the one that comes to Earth, we're getting Steppenwolf, which I think makes more sense because I think in that story, Darkseid wasn't served very well. His personality wasn't really there. So having someone like Steppenwolf in the movie, I think, can serve better than having Darkseid. And I'm sure that both of them are going to be written a little differently, and Steppenwolf will have to have some kind of personality. He's a villain. He's not just going to be a monster. You can't have a villain throughout a movie that's equivalent to Doomsday, who can't speak. That's not what they're going to do, so sounds really cool. I love all of these little tidbits of news, and just reading over all of this yesterday, I can't explain really how I felt. It was a big moment for all the DC fans around. So yeah, guys, this was a ton of Justice League news. I want to know your thoughts on everything. Comment down below. How do you feel about, the direction they're going in with Justice League? Everything I heard, I'm 100% on board. There wasn't a single thing that I heard yesterday that I was just like, or I was a little disappointed in. Absolutely nothing. Everything sounds great. The interactions between characters sound great. The character descriptions for everyone sounds, totally in line with what they should be. And this is looking like it's really going to win everyone back over, convert all the people who, the fans they lost, or the people that felt very lukewarm about Batman v Superman. So absolutely cannot wait. Comment your thoughts down below on, these scene descriptions. What do you think of how Batman is going to be? Wonder Woman, Cyborg, The Flash, the story. What do you think about the 3 mother boxes and the return of Apocalypse coming back to invade Earth and take back their stuff? If you want more videos like this, be sure to subscribe for more movie news, movie reviews, and all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next video.